Today we're going to look at how to open Photoshop Creative Cloud, and the version of Creative Cloud we're looking at is actually 2015.5. So what I want to do is click on the Start menu here, and I'm using Windows 10. It may look slightly different if you're using Windows 7. I'm going to go to All Apps, and then I want to look for Photoshop, and again it should say CC. And you can see it right here, CC 2015.5. You'll see the splash screen come up. And the Photoshop interface loads. Now from here, we've got several things we can do. We'll see our recent files that are listed over here on the right, and you could simply click on one of those if you wanted to open it up. You could also do a new file right here and then define whatever size you want it to be. You could open a file that you do not see on the right and simply choose where that location is actually going to be. Additionally, you could also go to the File menu up at the top here and click on File and then New or Open. And that's going to be the more traditional way of older versions of Photoshop, being able to look at it and open it up. It's the exact same way most of your programs are going to work, and it's the same as simply clicking over here. So what I want to do is go ahead and click on a new file and show you some of the options in here. I guess I should also point out that there are some presets in the newer Photoshop, which are really nice to look at. If you click on presets, you're going to see here that you have some predefined options. So a print document that's 8.5 inches by 11 inches at 300 PPI or DPI. That's dots per inch or pixels per inch. That simply means 300 is going to be set for print resolution. Those are the little bitty dots within a 1 square inch. If you wanted web resolution, you could simply click on this one. However, that's set to an HD video size. 1920 by 1080 is HD video, which is common for monitors. So that's why it's set to that preset right there. You could always do a custom one down here if you wanted to do that as well. Again, I'm going to go to New, and I just want to predefine my own so that you can see how to create that. So I'm going to click on New. And I always want to name my files. So there's a very specific way within my classroom that I always ask students to name, and it'll really help you keep track of all of your files and keep them in an order. So let's say that that I'm in the first period class, and the name of this project is simply first project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in P1 and then an underscore, and I want to put my first and last name. And then I'm going to do another underscore, and I'm going to call it first. And I guess I'll put project there too. All right, if I name every single file exactly like that with P1 or whatever your period is, then your name, then the name of the project, as you begin to have more and more projects throughout the year, they'll all stay in order, and you'll never have to wonder where your project's actually at. That's probably one of the most common things that I have students deal with is they spend hours and hours or weeks on a project, then all of a sudden they can't find it. They don't know where they put it. They don't know where it was saved. They can't find it. They don't know the name, and it really becomes a problem for them. So the next thing that we're going to look at says US paper. That's fine. Letter, again, that's a predefined set or a predefined size. Excuse me. If we look at the size right here, it's automatically defaulted to inches. That's actually really nice. In older versions of Photoshop, it would default to pixels. And again, that was an issue for students. They would forget to change that, and they would end up with a really, really tiny file. So we want to leave it on inches. And this is simply what size we want the paper to be. 8.5 by 11 is your standard set size sheet of paper. We also work often with 11 by 17 or other various sizes. You'll also notice that the width being 8.5 by 11, or I'm sorry, the width being 8.5 and the height being 11 is going to make it a portrait style. All right, so that's if you were normally looking at it. If you turn your page sideways, that's called landscape. And in order to do that, you simply change width to 11, height to 8.5, and you're ready to go on that. The color mode, you can leave that on RGB. Generally, you're going to use RGB if you're working for video or web or anything that's only on screen. If you know that you're going to be printing it out, you'll usually want to switch that over to CMYK. All right, that's cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Or actually, the K stands for the key color, but it's typically black. The reason that we switch to that is it's going to give you more accurate colors for the print process. But for this, I'm going to go ahead and leave it as RGB. The background, you have your option of whether or not you want it to be white, if you want to have a specific background color, or transparent. Normally, you're going to want to leave it white because the paper you're going to be printing on is going to be white, and it'll just make it a little bit easier to see. Transparent's really handy if you know that you're trying to create a GIF or something like that, a PNG, where you know that you want that background to be transparent. It's not going to be a standard hard-edged background. So we're going to leave that on white. Don't worry about any of these advanced settings or anything like that. Now, if you wanted to right now, you could save that as a preset so that you could go in and use it later. That's not something that we're going to do right now, but again, if that's something that you want to do on your profile, you're certainly welcome to do so. So I'm simply going to hit OK. And you'll see that it opens up my file. I now have an 8.5 by 11. And in fact, if I turn my rulers on, you'll see that I've got 11 inches here, 8.5 inches going up and down. So I know that I'm set within that file. The very first thing that I'm always going to do in my file is I'm going to click on File, and I'm going to do Save As. And the reason that I do Save As over Save is I want to make sure I know exactly where I am putting my file. So I'm going to click on Save As, and right now, I just want it to be directly on the desktop. That is not where you are going to save it. You're going to save it to your an H drive if you have that, or a network drive, or your Google Drive, or your flash drive, somewhere that you know you have access to it. You know exactly where it's going to be. And again, I highly recommend that you use some kind of folders. So I simply hit save, and now that I've saved it, I know that I'm ready to go. All I have to do is I can start working, I can paint, I can do whatever it is that I want to do on here, and I simply have to click File, Save, and I'm ready to go. So now it's saved. I know my file's there. I know that I'm good. I don't have to worry about anything else.